Most men spend years trying to understand what went wrong, replaying conversations, rereading messages, and questioning their own worth. They assume effort was lacking, timing was unlucky, or emotions were mishandled. What they rarely consider is that the game was never about effort at all. There is a truth operating beneath attraction, beneath connection, beneath what people say they want. It governs behavior silently, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Before that moment, men mistake intensity for value, closeness for control, and sacrifice for strength. They believe giving more will secure stability. Instead, it creates instability. They believe emotional exposure builds bonds. Instead, it shifts leverage. Most men only recognize this after they have lost composure, dignity, or direction. By then, the pattern feels personal, even cruel. But it was never personal. It was structural. This is not about blame, resentment, or withdrawal. It is about clarity. When this truth becomes internalized, emotional leverage disappears. Influence dissolves. Power quietly returns to where it always belonged. Not through dominance, not through coldness, but through detachment and self-governance. The issue was never that you cared too much or wanted something real. Wanting connection is not weakness. Commitment is not foolish. The real failure was operating without awareness. Most men are taught to respond emotionally instead of strategically. They react to words rather than patterns. They interpret moments instead of trajectories. When something feels off, they compensate by increasing effort instead of stepping back to observe. This creates imbalance. The more they try to fix the dynamic, the more control they surrender. Not because the other person is malicious, but because human behavior follows incentives. Attention, availability, and emotional investment are signals. When they are given freely without requirement, their perceived value decreases. This does not mean you withhold artificially or play games. It means you stop confusing participation with progress. Awareness changes posture. Observation replaces anxiety. When a man understands patterns, he stops internalizing outcomes as judgments of his worth. He stops chasing explanations. He sees clearly, adjusts calmly, and regains alignment with himself. The first belief that collapses is the idea that words reveal intention. Men are conditioned to take statements at face value. Promises, reassurance, emotional language, and future projections feel meaningful. But behavior always outranks language. Consistency outranks chemistry. Alignment outranks intensity. When words and actions diverge, the action is the truth. Most men ignore this because they want coherence. They want to believe effort will eventually be matched. Instead of observing patterns, they rationalize inconsistencies. They explain away withdrawal, delay, and ambiguity. This is where power begins to shift away from them. Conditional behavior thrives on confusion. Hot and cold patterns are not accidents. They create emotional engagement without accountability. When a man invests heavily based on verbal affirmation alone, he commits before certainty exists. Once commitment is asymmetrical, leverage follows the imbalance. This is not manipulation in a dramatic sense. It is simple human response to uneven investment. The moment a man stops interpreting words as guarantees and starts reading behavior as data, the illusion breaks. He no longer negotiates his standards internally. He does not confront or accuse. He simply adjusts his participation. Clarity removes the need for explanations. Observation dissolves attachment to outcomes. At that point, dynamics either correct themselves or end naturally. Attention is the most underestimated currency men give away. It feels invisible, so it feels endless. Messages, reassurance, availability, emotional processing, constant presence. None of these seem costly until they are unreciprocated. Attention signals priority. When it flows without restraint, it communicates that your time, focus, and emotional energy have no scarcity. Scarcity is not about withholding affection. It is about valuing your own bandwidth. When a man centers his life around someone else's responses, he transfers control. His mood rises and falls based on external validation. This makes him predictable. Predictability removes tension. Without tension, attraction erodes. Pausing does not mean disappearing. It means allowing space for reality to reveal itself. When attention is reduced, behavior clarifies. Genuine interest moves closer. Conditional interest fades. Either outcome is information. The man who understands attention as currency never begs for reciprocity. He does not demand reassurance. He simply invests where engagement is mutual. This quiet calibration restores balance. It shifts the frame from approval-seeking to self-governance. Power returns not because attention is withheld, but because it is placed deliberately. Emotional reactions are the fastest way to give away leverage. Frustration, anxiety, jealousy, and urgency signal that something outside you controls your internal state. The moment you react, you reveal where power sits. Calm is not indifference. It is discipline. It is the ability to experience emotion without broadcasting it. When a man reacts impulsively, he trains others to influence him. When he remains composed, uncertainty shifts outward. Calm creates asymmetry. It forces others to fill the silence with clarity or distance. Emotional self-control does not suppress feeling. It contains it. The Stoics understood this as sovereignty over the self. A man who governs his responses cannot be provoked into self-betrayal. He does not argue to be understood. He does not chase closure. He allows actions to speak. Calm posture communicates strength without assertion. It removes the reward from emotional volatility. Over time, this reshapes interactions. Respect replaces tension, or distance replaces confusion. Both outcomes are acceptable. Emotional discipline is not about winning someone over. It is about refusing to lose yourself. When calm becomes habitual, dynamics reorganize automatically. Control no longer needs to be taken. It is already present. Pausing is the interruption of old reflexes. Instead of responding immediately, you create space between stimulus and action. In that space, clarity emerges. Observation replaces assumption. Detachment does not mean apathy. It means non-attachment to specific outcomes. When you stop pushing for resolution, manipulation loses traction. Patterns become visible without emotional noise. Detachment removes urgency. Urgency is what drives compromise against your own standards. A man who pauses does not escalate. He allows others to reveal their intentions through consistency or lack thereof. This quiet observation is destabilizing to conditional dynamics. Without emotional feedback, the usual tactics fail. There's nothing to push against, no reassurance to extract, no reaction to manage. Detachment recenters authority internally. You stop asking what this means about you. You start asking what this shows you. Once observation becomes primary, the need to control outcomes dissolves. Decisions become simple. Participation continues where alignment exists. It ends where it does not. No explanations required. This is not strategy. It is clarity. Abundance is not about quantity. It is about independence. A man with internal options does not cling. His life is structured, purposeful, and self-directed. Relationships become additions, not anchors. When someone senses that they are not your sole source of fulfillment, dynamics shift. Desperation disappears. Expectations normalize. Abundance removes fear of loss. Without fear, posture changes. You listen instead of convincing. You choose instead of chasing. Options do not require multiple partners. They require a full life. Physical discipline, professional focus, social competence, and personal standards create internal abundance. When these pillars exist, no single interaction carries disproportionate weight. This recalibration is felt, not stated. It is communicated through behavior. Time is allocated selectively. Energy is conserved. Emotional investment follows demonstrated alignment. When abundance is internalized, rejection loses sting. Withdrawal loses power. You remain steady because nothing essential is threatened. This steadiness is often misinterpreted as confidence. In reality, it is detachment grounded in self-respect. The man who has options never advertises them. He simply moves accordingly. Boundaries are not ultimatums. They are rules of engagement. They define what access looks like. When boundaries are unclear, respect erodes. Most men fear boundaries will push people away. In reality, lack of boundaries invites testing. When disrespect goes unaddressed, it becomes normalized. A man who respects himself does not negotiate his core standards. He does not threaten consequences, he enforces them through action. Access reduces when respect does. Attention withdraws when alignment fades. This is not punishment, it is consistency. Boundaries protect dignity. They preserve emotional stability. When enforced calmly, they communicate strength without aggression. People adjust or exit. Both outcomes restore balance. Boundaries are internal first. You decide what behavior you tolerate. You act accordingly. Over time, this filters interactions. Only those capable of mutual respect remain. Power dynamics stabilize because expectations are clear. Self-respect eliminates the need for control. You are not trying to manage others. You are managing yourself. This is where authority becomes quiet and unquestioned. When these principles integrate, identity shifts. You no longer perform strength. You embody it. You stop chasing validation and start choosing alignment. The old dynamics collapse because they require emotional overinvestment to function. Without it, they dissolve. You are not withdrawn. You are selective. You are not cold. You are composed. You do not seek to be understood. You seek to understand patterns. Attraction becomes a byproduct, not a pursuit. Relationships form around mutual respect rather than leverage. The statement becomes simple. You do not chase, you choose. This identity is not announced. It is recognized. It is visible in posture, pacing, and restraint. Once internalized, it cannot be taken away. Influence fades where manipulation once existed. Calm replaces confusion. Clarity replaces anxiety. This is not transformation, it is return. This truth does not make you indifferent, it makes you sovereign. When self-respect governs action, external power fades. Observe more, react less. Choose deliberately. If this perspective resonates, like this video, share it with someone who wants to hear this too, and subscribe if you value clarity over chaos. Continue building a life where control begins and ends with you.